For today, we're going to be looking at what we call composite functions. All right. Now, this little symbol between the H and the G. So now we're going to call this H of G of -2. So what does this mean? I have to do G of -2 first. So that's not times, okay? Let me just emphasize that's not times. That little O, I have to do G of -2 first. The reason why I have to do G first instead of H is because that's the function that is closest to the number given, right? -2. So I'm basically looking at this right here. So that's to begin with. I have to find out what's G of -2. Now, G of -2, I'm looking at the function. G of -2 is 2 times a -2 plus 5, right? My variable, my letter in this case is n. So for every n, I type in -2. Kind of like I mentioned before. Most of the time, the variable is x, but not always. Right? G of -2, so it's 2 times -2 plus 5. That is like -4 plus 5, which is equivalent to 1. So I had to find out G of -2. And I found out it's 1. Now, I'm going to do the h of that. I'm going to find out what's h of 1. And I'm calling it h because that's the letter that it's outside. So some people write this as h of g of -2. So you have to do the g of -2 first. And whatever value you get for that, in this case 1, we're going to do it to the h. So I have to find out what's h of 1. All right, h of 1 is basically 4 times 1 plus 3. Or 4 plus 3, which is just better known as 7. So notice I did g of -2 first. And I'm doing g first because that's the letter closest to the number given. So I did g of -2. Whatever I get, I plug it into h. Now, sometimes, let me take a look at question number 30. I have g of -3. Okay, so what do I have to do first? I have to do g of -3. Find out what is g of -3. So I'm just going to do it here at the side. G of -3 is -4 times a -3 minus 4, which is 12 minus 4, better known as 8. And then I see the letter outside is G. So now I'm going to do G of 8. The 8, that's basically what we got from G of -3. So now I'm going to do G of 8. So I have a -4 times 8 minus 4, or -32 minus 4, which is equal to -36. So sometimes I might just give you guys one function. In this case, I gave you guys the function g, and I used it twice. So I did g of -3, which gave me 8, and then I do g of my result, so g of 8. Let's take a look at a couple more examples. Let's take a look at question number 31. So here we have this. So I have to do g of -7 first, because that's the letter closest to g. So g of -7, I'm going to do it here at the side. G of -7. I'm using the function g. The value of the variable is -7, so I have 2 times -7 plus 2. Actually, I'm looking at the function g. So this is -14 plus 2, better known as -12. All right, so g of -7 gave me -12. Now I have to do h, because that's the letter outside, h of -12. So that is 3 times -12 plus 5, better known as -36 plus 5. Right, because 3 times a -12 gave me -36. Now, -36 plus 5, that is basically -31. All right, composites are not that hard. Let's take a look at one last example. I'm only going to give you guys the function g of n, but you're going to use the function g twice. To begin with, let's do g of negative 10. So let me do that here at the side. G of negative 10. That is 2 times negative 10 minus 3. So negative 20, that's equal to negative 20 minus 3, better known as negative 23. So now the letter outside is g, but I'm going to do now g of negative 23. So that is equal to 2 times a negative 23 minus 3. So I have negative 46 minus 3, which is equal to negative 49. All right, that's composite functions. Let me zoom out so we can follow our notes. You guys can see what we did today.